Good morning. You've got Pastor Aaron. Here we are in Lent, day 17, almost halfway there. And today I want to talk to you about the story recorded in Matthew chapter 21, verse 12. You know, as a younger man, I considered myself kind of like a crusader against injustice. I would find it, and always felt that the fight was justifiable. But the reason for fighting, I learned later, was perhaps less. A lot of the fight wasn't so much about the injustice, but instead the person who was leading the charge against it. So yeah, I made the fight often about me. And yeah, I learned that I often get in my own way. There was a elder colleague in Pittsburgh. His name was Mike, and he saw my passion, at times my frustrations, and how I handled things. And he pulled me aside several times, and he would always ask me this question: is this the hill that you want to die on? Now, that question might have saved my ministry. But it's guided me, I shouldn't say but, it has guided me as I address conflict in the present. Here's what we know. Not all conflict is a hill worth dying on, but some certainly are. The Church of Jesus Christ must remember that their message opposes the positions of this world. For example, there is such a thing as sin, and its wages are death. Sin is clearly defined as missing the mark of God's plan. The only way to God is through Jesus, who paid for sin. Jesus died on the cross to restore man's relationship with God, and all of this is spelled out in the Bible, which is the gift of God's truth for humanity. Now, I'm sure that there are people who will listen to this or perhaps read the written post, and they'll say things like, well, what gives you the right to tell me that I'm wrong? And the answer is very simple. I'm not telling you you're wrong. The Bible is telling you you're wrong. And yes, there is only one way to interpret it, and that's how the authors wrote it, not how you or I feel about it. Because our feelings are subjective. God's word is painfully objective. When feelings get involved in biblical interpretation, we tend to dumb down truth because it's too hot to handle, or we don't want to offend, or we don't want to be perceived as one of those Bible thumpers. We don't want to push people away. So we make compromises. But we fail to ask ourselves what occurs when a little bit of a lie invades God's truth, invades truth at all. You see, Jesus didn't give a flying fig about offending someone when he went into the temple and saw what they were doing in God's name. Again, the story is recorded in Matthew 21, 12, and 13. Jesus entered the temple courts and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said to them, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of robbers. I want you to get this. Jesus flipped tables. Jesus flipped tables. Now, I want you to notice he doesn't flip tables on sinners who came to learn, but on a religious system that defied God's truth. Now, I suspect that what Jesus witnessed began with the greatest intentions. Well, let's provide a streamlined path for sacrifice, a Walmart for worship, but then compromise entered, and it was accepted. Jesus' reaction to it makes me think this is no longer just a little bit of compromise. The nature of truth being compromised was enough for Jesus to cleanse the temple by action, saying there was nothing here of value worth keeping. So I think about our generation, and I think of what's been done in the name of Christian appeasement with the culture around it. You know, I wonder, do we need to raise up some table flippers? And I wonder, does God want a cleansed church to impact this generation for truth. God bless.